There are people listening right now who have made the same dua hundreds of times. Some whispered it after every prayer. Some cried while asking for it in the darkness of the night. And some have reached a point where they are asking quietly because they are tired of waiting. Perhaps you are worried because nothing seems to be changing. You look around and wonder if your words are even being heard. But remember something powerful. When Allah gives you the ability to keep turning back to Him again and again, that itself is not something small. Sometimes the acceptance of a dua begins long before the result appears. Sometimes Allah is working behind closed doors while your heart thinks nothing is happening. So before you lose hope, before you think your prayers are being ignored, understand that there are signs, beautiful signs, that may already be showing you that your dua has been accepted. How many times have you raised your hands and said, Ya Allah, please answer me? How many nights have passed while carrying worries nobody else understands? We live in a world where we want immediate results, immediate answers, immediate changes. But Allah teaches us something different. He teaches us trust. He teaches us patience. He teaches us that delay does not always mean denial. Sometimes the thing you are crying for today is already being prepared in ways you cannot imagine. Sometimes what feels like silence is actually protection. If your heart is worried that your dua has not been accepted, then listen carefully, because there are signs that Allah places in your life to remind you that He hears every word, every tear, and every sincere call made from the heart. There are people listening right now who have made the same dua hundreds of times. Some whispered it after every prayer. Some cried while asking for it in the darkness of the night. And some have reached a point where they are asking quietly because they are tired of waiting. Perhaps you are worried because nothing seems to be changing. You look around and wonder if your words are even being heard. But remember something powerful. When Allah gives you the ability to keep turning back to Him again and again, that itself is not something small. Sometimes the acceptance of a dua begins long before the result appears. Sometimes Allah is working behind closed doors while your heart thinks nothing is happening. So before you lose hope, before you think your prayers are being ignored, understand that there are signs, beautiful signs, that may already be showing you that your dua has been accepted. One of the strongest signs that your dua is being accepted is that despite everything, despite delays, despite tears, despite disappointment, you still find yourself returning to Allah. Think about this carefully. If Allah did not want good for you, why would He continue opening your heart toward Him? There are millions of people who go through difficulties but become distant from their Creator. Yet somehow, after every hardship, after every painful moment, your heart still says, Ya Allah. This itself is something special. The ability to continue making dua is not simply your strength. It is a gift from Allah. Many people believe acceptance only means receiving exactly what they asked for. They think if they asked for something today, they should see results tomorrow. But Allah teaches us throughout life that timing belongs to Him alone. Sometimes what you are asking for requires preparation. Sometimes your heart requires growth. Sometimes there are things happening around you that you cannot see. A farmer does not plant a seed today and become angry tomorrow because fruit has not appeared. Growth takes time. Roots grow before fruits appear. In the same way, Allah may be building things for you that your eyes cannot yet see. There are moments when you make dua, and suddenly you notice something changing inside yourself. Perhaps the problem remains, but your heart feels slightly calmer. Perhaps the difficulty continues, but panic slowly decreases. This change is not meaningless. Sometimes Allah answers by strengthening the person before changing the situation. Because if your heart becomes stronger, patient, and closer to Him, then even before the result arrives, something valuable has already been given to you. Remember how many times in life you wanted something desperately, but later realized it was not good for you. At that moment, you could not understand, but later you thanked Allah for protecting you. Sometimes we ask Allah while seeing only one page of our story, while Allah sees every page. We see today while He sees tomorrow. We see our emotions while He sees consequences. This is why trust becomes so important. There are people who stop making dua because they think repeated asking means Allah is not listening. But the opposite can also be true. Repeated dua sometimes means Allah loves hearing your voice. Imagine speaking to the one who controls every difficulty, every door, every opportunity, every blessing. Why would speaking to Him ever be a waste? Every sincere dua is heard. Every tear is seen. Every moment of pain is known by Allah. Sometimes acceptance shows itself through unexpected protection. You ask Allah for one thing, but suddenly another door opens. You ask for one path, but obstacles appear. At first, you become frustrated because you think your plans are failing. But years later, you realize those obstacles were actually mercy. Allah protected you from situations you could not understand at the time. Protection itself is sometimes centered. You may also notice that difficult moments push you closer to worship. You begin praying with more sincerity. You become more conscious about your actions. You think more about your relationship with Allah. Hardship changes your priorities. These changes should not always be viewed as punishment. Sometimes Allah brings people closer through circumstances because He wants something greater for them. There is something beautiful about sincere dua. It changes the person making it. The person who constantly asks Allah learns humility because they realize they are not in control. They learn patience because they understand some things require waiting. They learn gratitude because they begin appreciating blessings they previously ignored. These changes happen quietly, sometimes without even noticing. Perhaps right now you are waiting for something important. Maybe you are waiting for relief from problems. Maybe you are waiting for opportunities. Maybe you are waiting for happiness to return. While waiting, do not underestimate the value of remaining connected to Allah. Continue asking. Continue trusting. Continue believing that delays do not mean abandonment. Sometimes Allah answers immediately. Sometimes He answers gradually. Sometimes He replaces what you asked for with something better. Sometimes He protects you by delaying what would have harmed you. And sometimes the greatest answer is not the thing itself, but the person you become during the waiting. Because there are people who started making dua, asking Allah to change their situation, and eventually realized Allah was changing their hearts first. How many times have you raised your hands and said, Ya Allah, please answer me? How many nights have passed while carrying worries nobody else understands? We live in a world where we want immediate results, immediate answers, immediate changes. But Allah teaches us something different. He teaches us trust. He teaches us patience. He teaches us that delay does not always mean denial. Sometimes the thing you are crying for today is already being prepared in ways you cannot imagine. Sometimes what feels like silence is actually protection. If your heart is worried that your dua has not been accepted, then listen carefully, because there are signs that Allah places in your life to remind you that He hears every word, every tear, and every sincere call made from the heart. One of the signs that your dua may be accepted is when you begin noticing changes within yourself before you see changes around yourself. This is something many people miss because they are so focused on results that they forget to notice transformation. Perhaps you are still facing the same problem, but you react differently now. Perhaps the situation is still difficult, but your heart carries a different kind of strength. Maybe months ago you would panic immediately, but now even while struggling you still say, Allah will make a way. These changes matter more than you think. Sometimes people expect acceptance to arrive like a sudden miracle that changes everything overnight. While that can happen, often Allah works in ways that are quieter. He begins by changing your perspective. He changes your priorities. He changes your understanding of life. You may not even realize these changes are happening because they happen slowly. Day after day, prayer after prayer, hardship after hardship, Allah builds something stronger inside you. Think about this carefully. If every difficulty disappeared instantly, would patience grow? Would trust become stronger? Would dependence upon Allah increase? Sometimes the waiting period itself becomes part of the blessing, because during that waiting, your relationship with Allah becomes deeper than before. The person who once only remembered Allah during emergencies slowly begins remembering Him during ordinary days too. There are moments when Allah delays something because He wants you to continue walking toward Him. You may think, why is this taking so long? But perhaps if everything arrived immediately, you would stop making those heartfelt du'as in the quiet hours. You would stop those moments where you sincerely ask Allah for help. Sometimes closeness itself becomes one of the greatest gifts hidden inside waiting. You may notice that despite difficulties, strange forms of peace begin appearing in your life. Not perfect peace, not a life without problems, but moments where your heart feels lighter, even though circumstances remain the same. This peace is valuable because true peace does not always come from having everything. Sometimes it comes from trusting the one who controls everything. There are people who have wealth but no peace. There are people who have success but constant anxiety. There are people who achieve what they wanted but still feel empty. Then there are those who still struggle, still wait, still face uncertainty, but carry calmness because they believe Allah knows what He is doing. That calmness is not weakness, it is strength. When Allah wants good for someone, He sometimes removes certain things from their life while adding other things they did not expect. Maybe you lost an opportunity but gained wisdom. Maybe a door closed but protected you from pain. Maybe someone walked away from your life but created space for something healthier. Human beings naturally focus on what disappeared while forgetting to notice what arrived afterward. Another sign is that you continue trying even when things become difficult. You continue praying. You continue making effort. You continue hoping. This persistence is important because hopelessness often pushes people toward giving up completely. The fact that your heart still searches for Allah, still asks Him, still depends upon Him, shows something beautiful is alive inside you. Life teaches all of us something important. Many times the things we cried for years ago are no longer important today. Some things we desperately wanted eventually disappeared from our priorities completely. This teaches us that our understanding changes while Allah's knowledge remains perfect from the beginning. Sometimes people become frustrated because they compare themselves to others. They see someone else receiving what they want and begin asking, why not me? But comparison creates unnecessary pain because Allah writes different stories for different people. Someone else may receive something earlier, while you receive something better later. Someone else may appear ahead while carrying struggles you cannot see. You should also remember that acceptance does not always mean receiving exactly what you requested in exactly the form you imagined. Sometimes Allah answers through protection, sometimes through replacement, sometimes through delay, sometimes through opportunities you never considered. Human beings often ask for specific outcomes while Allah gives according to perfect wisdom. There will be days when your faith feels strong and days when waiting feels heavy. This is normal. Even during those heavy days, continue speaking to Allah. Speak honestly. Ask sincerely. Cry if you need to. Allah understands the language of hearts, even before words leave your mouth. Maybe right now you are waiting for financial ease, waiting for family problems to improve, waiting for opportunities, waiting for healing, waiting for peace, waiting for answers. Continue trusting that Allah hears every dua made with sincerity. Continue believing that your waiting has meaning even when you cannot understand it yet. And if these reminders are helping you strengthen your faith and remain hopeful during difficult times, subscribe to the channel and continue joining these reminders so that together we continue remembering Allah, growing stronger and learning to trust His plan, even when we cannot yet see where it leads.